Good morning, folks and family. It's June 25th, 2020 on a Thursday morning. It's 9:36 a.m. And this is the Word for Today, Part 1 for April 5th, 2020. This is the weekly sermon I do. So I do a weekly sermon, and this is the one for April 5th, 2020. The Word for Today, Part 1. Let's go ahead and go into the Word today. And at April 4th, 2020, at 4:20 in the morning, very early, I received these two verses out of the Bible, from out of these two books. The first one is Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. And then I get Acts chapter 5, verse 16. So every now and then the Lord will wake me up and give me these Bible verses to share with you. So let's go ahead and start with Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Acts chapter 5, verse 16. Also a multitude gathered from the surrounding cities to Jerusalem, bringing sick people and those who were tormented by unclean spirits, and they were all healed. The next journal entry I have for you is at 8:25 p.m. that evening, April 4, 2020. This is the word I've received during worship. For without me, you can do nothing. This is Jesus speaking. For without me, you can do nothing. And it's found in this book of the Bible, the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verses 5 through 7, key verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch, and is withered, and they gather them and throw them to the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. The next journal entry was 1 minute after, 8:26 p.m., April 4, 2020. This is the word I received during worship. Chains of darkness reserved for that day of judgment. Once again, chains of darkness reserved for that day of judgment. And it's found in these two books, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, and the book of Jude, chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. So let's go ahead and go to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into the chains of darkness, to be reserved for judgment. Jude chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness, for the judgment of the great day, as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar manner to these, having given themselves over to sexual morality, and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. The next journal entry I have for you, April 4th, 2020, at 8:27 p.m., and this goes along with what I just stated earlier. The angels which left their first estate and married fair women and had kids, giants in those days. Once again, the angels which left their first estate and married fair women and had kids, giants in those days. And this is found in these books of the Bible: Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 22, Numbers chapter 13, verses 30 through 33, Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 10, Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 11, 2 Samuel chapter 21, verses 16, 20, and 22, the book of Job chapter 1, verse 6, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 14, Amos chapter 2, verse 9, and then finally we go to 2 Corinthians 11, verses 14 and 15. Once again, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, and once again, Jude chapter 1, verses 6 and 7, and finally, Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 22. Genesis 6, 1 through 22. Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God, and Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourselves an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover inside and outside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. And behold, myself am bringing flood waters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh, in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives, with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him. So he did. Numbers chapter 13, verses 30 through 33. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses, and said, Let us go up at once, and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men said who had gone up with him, and said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, The land through which we had gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 10. The men have dwelt there in times past, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 11. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants. Indeed, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. Is it not in Rabbah of the people of Ammon? 9 cubits is its length, and 4 cubits its width, according to the standard cubit. 2 Samuel chapter 21, verses 16, 20, and 22. Then Ishbi-Benob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose bronze spear was 300 shekels, who was bearing a new sword, thought he could kill David. Yet again there was a war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number, and he also was born to the giant. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 14. They are dead, they will not live. They are deceased, they will not rise. Therefore you have punished and destroyed them, and made all their memory to perish. Amos chapter 2, verse 9. Yet it was I who destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars. And he was strong, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit above, and his roots beneath. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 and 15. And no wonder, For Satan himself transformed himself into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. Once again, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them in the chains of darkness, to be reserved for the judgment. Once again, the book of Jude, chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day, as Sodom and Gomorrah, and the cities around them in a similar manner to these, having given themselves over to sexual immorality, and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Alright, the Spotify worship song I have for you this time around is a song called I Need a Miracle by Third Day. I Need a Miracle by Third Day. I'll post a link to that in the description box below for you Spotify account holders. And I'll also post the YouTube link you see listed here. The next journal entry I have for you, April 4th, 2020, at 8:28 p.m. during worship. This is the message I've received. So there they were, eating and drinking and giving into marriage, until the flood came and took them all away. Once again, so there they were, eating and drinking and giving into marriage, until the flood came and took them all away. This is found in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 37 through 44. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verses 26 through 30, key verse 27. So let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 37 through 44. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be left in the field. One will be taken, and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Luke chapter 17, verses 26 through 30. Key verse 27. And as it was in the days of Noah, so it will also be in the days of the Son of Man. They ate, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until that day. Then Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, as it were also in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so it will be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. The last journal entry I have for you, April 4, 2020 at 8:29 p.m. However, Noah and his wife, his 3 sons and their wives, along with the animals, were safe and sound in the ark. 8 people survived. However, Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives, along with the animals, were safe and sound in the ark. 8 people survived. This is found in these 2 books of the Bible, Genesis chapter 7, verses 7 through 13 and 23, and 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 20. So let's go to Genesis chapter 7, verses 7 through 13 and 23. So Noah, his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went to the ark to Noah, male and female, as God has commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month. On that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered the ark. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing, and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. And when Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 20. Who formerly were disobedient, when once the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is, 8 souls, were saved through water. In conclusion, I'll give you the Spotify worship song for you to listen to. It's by Brandon Heath, called Your Love. Brandon Heath, Your Love. I'll post a link to that in the description box below, as well as the YouTube video you see listed here. Alright, folks and family, that's the Word for Today, Part 1, April 5th, 2020. Once again, the Word for Today, Part 1, April 5th, 2020. Everyone have a great day. God bless you all in everything you do today. Have a great weekend. Remember, Jesus Christ is coming soon. This is your day of salvation, your day of redemption, your day of repentance. I love you all very much. Stay tuned for Part 2 of this series for the Word for Today, April 5th, 2020. I love you all very much. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Bye-bye for now.